Why is it not stopping? What the hell? Really? Well, that's good, isn't it? Got to restart the scenario now. Hello fellow simmers, it's Samuel Beeman of BLS here, and welcome back to another OpenRails video. Today we're going to be looking at something that I recently picked up, and that is the Brighton to Portsmouth Westcoastway's express route for Microsoft Train Simulator. So this is a route that I've actually always wanted to get hold of. It's one that I never got hold of as a kid. One of the main reasons I actually wanted to get this was because it was actually on the back of the user manual of the Swanage Railway route add-on, which we've seen previously. And yeah, it was just one that I always quite fancied getting hold of. So this is the Bognor to Victoria scenario, which is one of the more difficult scenarios for the add-on. And there is a reason why I have selected this scenario. Not necessarily because it is a difficult scenario, but because it is one of the only scenarios to have the Connex liveried class 421 in the scenario. Because the rest of them, well, there's about 3 or 4 scenarios with the Connex liveried 421 in this add-on, but they're all at winter, so it's literally all snow, which is all very well and good, but you know, I'd like to see the route in a sort of clear light without the snow. So, you know, it's always best to show it off in its sort of natural look. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our headlights on, obviously, and get ourselves ready. So let's just read the briefing. So, the Mid-Essex line has been closed this evening for emergency engineering works. The 1558 Bognor to Victoria service will be diverted to run through Hove, stopping only at Barnum and Preston Park. For part of the way, you'll be following slower services which will delay you. There is also engineering works and a failed signal at Ford to contend with. At the failed signal, you must stop before asking permission to proceed. If you stop at the correct point, you will get a pop-up box telling you to press tab to proceed. If you don't stop, or you don't get this pop-up box and continue past the signal, your activity will end. The activity starts in the carriage sidings at Bognor. Pick up your train and drive out onto the main line and reverse back into the platform. At the departure time, set off towards London. Right, so you heard it. So what we're going to do is put ourselves into forward, put a pantograph down, or aka third rail shoe, release our brake and get underway. So I've only briefly looked at this route, and I've got to hand it to it. It's actually not too bad. It's very interesting to see the sort of Connex era of Southern Slam Door. So, as we saw in the previous video of OpenRails with London and South East, we had the sort of 1970s era Slam Door Southern region, and this is sort of the, well, I wouldn't really say modern, but it's moderner era of slam door stock. This is sort of the back end of when the slam doors started to be phased out on British railways. So this unit has 2 horns. We have the spacebar horn, which is basically a recycled B key horn from the Great Eastern route by Making Tracks, but just sort of lowered in pitch. So it's interesting. I mean, it does sound sort of like a Southern Region unit, but it's not perfect. But this unit also does have a B key horn, which is basically a reversed version of the spacebar horn, as you can hear there. So They might not be the best horns in the world, but at least we have them, you know? Right, so we are going to have to reverse into Bognor station now. So unfortunately this unit doesn't have a changing cabs feature, as seen there. Some units and locomotives don't actually have the changing cab feature, which does kind of suck, but not all of them are compatible to have that feature. It's okay though, because we're only going to be in the sort of reverse cab for a short period. So like most MSTS add-ons, they don't give you enough time to actually get into the station, so we are now late. As you can see, it's now 15:58 and we were actually supposed to arrive in Bognor Regis at 15:57. So as you can see, we are just currently curving round the extremely tight curve into the bay platform. Yeah, it's slightly too tight in my opinion, but hey ho. One of the interesting things I have noticed about this route, which is really interesting, is the fact that at this time period they still had semaphore signalling, which is really quite cool because I was expecting like colour lights. So yeah. Interesting that this period still had semaphores. I don't actually know sort of when the period is based here, but sort of the end of the slam doors eras, so very early 2000s. The fact they still have semaphores is quite impressive. I do like the brake rub sounds, they're pretty cool. The drivability of this unit isn't too bad. I'll give it credit where it's due. Although the braking of it is... It's difficult to brake, let's put it that way. So there we are. The unit is actually fitted with a passenger view as well. If we press 5, as you can see, we are inside the passenger compartment, which, I mean, this is probably one of the favoured features of MSTS for its time, is the fact that you can go into passenger views and ride the train in a passenger perspective.
Okay to proceed.
As you see, we have now got our guard's whistle to proceed. Well, it wasn't really a whistle, it was just a okay to proceed. So, rightio, let's get ourselves into forward gear and get underway. So we are going to be chasing aspects for some of this scenario, so we do need to be very careful on where we head to. What doesn't actually help my case here is my track monitor system. So as you can see, we've got my track monitor on the right hand side of the screen, but the signals on the HUD itself are not showing any aspect, which just makes this even more tricky. So the signals themselves are actually those silver circles, and yeah, they're not showing any aspects, which is just more hard work for me. So I need to use my own eyes to look out for signals. So this route was built by Eurosoft and European Bar, and they constructed the Swanage Railway as well as a few other add-ons as well, like the London to Brighton route. And to be fair, all things considered, this add-on isn't that bad. The scenery does look a bit bland in areas, and I will show you that as we leave Bognor. Speeding slightly because we are in need to making up time. One of the things I do like about it, as you just heard when going under that bridge, is the refurb effects, which is pretty cool. So they have like an refurb effects, just adds to it. Traction motor sounds are something to be desired. They're not the best traction motor sounds that I've ever heard, but still sounds like an electric unit nonetheless. Could have been better though. Right, so this is what I was talking about the bland scenery. So as we come out here, if you look to our left, we can see that, yeah, it is pretty bland scenery wise. So the cab it's alright, but it's not like the usual photo textured cabs that you get within MSTS. It's sort of you can tell it was custom made because it's a CGI built cab, which is okay, it's not too bad, but it doesn't really live up to the photo textured cabs that other MSTS add-ons have. Yeah, we can see especially over here that the scenery is looking incredibly bland. It looks unfinished, and compared to other MSTS add-ons that we've seen so far, I would say scenery wise it's not as good, but nevertheless it has captured the Connex slam door era nicely, and it's nice to see it in game. So I have briefly played this scenario previously, and I have just remembered that there is actually a yellow aspect up here. Oh, it's green here. Okay, so that's changed. That's interesting. We've got a green aspect here. So I think we're okay to proceed for now, but we've got to be careful. We've got green up ahead, that's always good to see. Because I got caught out of this signal last time. Had to restart. Oh, am I going around that tight curve? No, oh, there's a piece of track missing. Oh dear, what was that all about? Is that the engineering works? Okay, I appear to have bits of track missing here. I don't understand what that's all about. Right. Okay, so something's not quite right here. Is that actually a thing? Was that like a... Is that an actual bug with the route? Or... Let me know in the comments, guys, if you own this route for MSTS and you had issues with missing track. So once again, we are late.
Okay to proceed.
Okay to proceed. Off we go. We've got a green on the aspect. Oh, so that's interesting. So here is colour lights here. So we've got like a mixture between semaphores and colour lights. That is interesting. So in between Barnum and Preston there is an issue with the signal somewhere, so we need to make sure we be aware of that. Yeah, this route definitely feels unfinished, to be fair, in places. I mean, there's not even any fencing, like line-side fencing. So, yeah, see, look, it feels just empty, look. It's like as if like this was like a work in progress route and they just thought, oh well, this is good enough, we'll release it. That's what it feels like so far. So one of the cool things about the horn is you can actually mess about with it a little bit. So, say if I wanted to do like a duh duh duh, I can sort of do that. See? By using sort of a mix between the B and the space key. So it has got some playability with the horn, which is nice to see. So I am going to come off the power because I can see that there is a 40 limit up ahead. So we We need to make sure that we respect that. So you saw there the speedboard warning sign is warning us that there was a there is a speed restriction up ahead. I wonder what station this is. Ford. What? Hang on a minute. That signal wasn't at red. That was giving me a green aspect. Right. Because that makes perfect sense. Okay guys, so I've got some good news. Well, some good news and sort of some bad news. I managed to fix the crossovers that were missing. So as you can see, we're now approaching Barnum again. And you'll see that my crossovers are actually here this time. I think this is due to the fact that there's been there was some files missing on the transfer over to my 1MSTS folder. So I've got this folder called 1MSTS, and basically it's a secondary folder for OpenRails. Basically, it's where I install most of my OpenRails stuff. And by the looks of things, the transfer of this add-on over to that folder has gone wrong, because I now have stuff, well, the point work showing up on this standard Microsoft Train Simulator folder. I don't know why it's doing this, because as far as I can see, it's just the point work that was missing, because everything else all looks pretty much the same. It is still very, very bland. But yeah, it's certainly an interesting one. So now that we've got all the tracking properly and in place, we can get a good look at it. So we're going to slow up and stop into Barnum. But this time when we reach Ford, even if the aspect is showing clear, I'm going to stop and request permission to proceed.
Okay to proceed.
Okay to proceed. I need to stop repeating now. It becomes a habit, doesn't it? Oh, wheel slip. Let's put the sander on quickly. As you can see there, the other unit seems to have stopped on the point. That's technically illegal. Should be stopped in the platform. But yeah, one thing I have noticed about this 421 driving wise is it does have the tendency to wheel slip quite regularly, which is, well, I don't think that's very realistic, because yeah, especially on like dry weather you wouldn't really get any wheel slip. I mean, it's okay for like the winter scenarios, but for a scenario like this, it's not exactly the best thing. Still very, very bland scenery. As I said, it's almost like a work in progress product that they've just whipped out and released out of nowhere. Just thought, yeah, that's good enough. Right, so I need to be careful because it's as I approach that 40 limit we start to get into Ford, which is where I'll need to stop and request permission to proceed. So I am going to come off the power now. Again, this is another one of those trains that is actually easier to drive in the cab. A lot of MSTS locomotives and rolling stock were designed to be driven from the cab more than the keyboard. That's why you probably find it's actually easier to drive stuff from the cab than the keyboard. So I'm going to put ourselves into the retro MSTS view, which is this here, Control 1. And this should enable me to have a little bit more steady control of the unit. So I'm going to stop in this station. Oh, we're showing a green aspect. See, we are still showing a green aspect, so there's a fault there. That's something wrong there. Because that should be showing red. That's very, very deceiving. Right, so I'm going to need to tab now. Okay, it's not letting me. Do I need to be like stopped in the correct spot for this or something? Slow and steady wins the race. Why is it not letting me tab? Is it supposed to be that shunt signal I'm supposed to... See, it's only 8 yards away. It's clearly a broken scenario. Shut up. It's 1 yard away.
Permission denied. Permission denied.
It's not. So it's letting me tab.
Permission denied.
It's letting me tab in reverse, but not front ways. Maybe it just doesn't work in OpenRails. Maybe it used to work in MSTS, but because obviously it's been put into OpenRails, maybe it's not compatible and it doesn't work. Because I know that some stuff doesn't work properly in OpenRails. Yeah. Okay, so it's clear to see that this activity actually doesn't work and is faulty. So I think what we're going to have to do, guys, is we are actually going to have to leave it there, unfortunately, and I'm sorry to say this. But before we go, let's have a little look round the 421. Let's have a look at the model itself and see our thoughts and opinions on it. So, the Connex 421, yeah, the modelling is not overly bad. I've got to hand it to European Barla. They've got this unit down to T. You know, this is nicely modelled. You know, you've got the bogie detail, which is all 3D as well, which is different because you find that a lot of MSTS locomotives and rolling stock are actually, a majority of like the bogies and stuff are actually 2D. So it's great to see that all of this 3D separately fitted detail as such on the unit. So we've even got 3D jumper cables as well, which just adds to the detail of it. So yeah, so in all honesty, the modelling of this 421 is not that bad, all things considered. There is worse looking models in MSTS than this. So I do give it credit in that respect. The route itself, I mean, to be fair, I'm actually not that keen. I like it, but I don't like it. I like it, the fact that it's based in the sort of the Connex era slam door, and it is nice to see, you know, the details of that specific era. And I think that, you know, to go back in time in a sense and play these old add-ons from these different eras, it's a lovely thing. And I wish that there was more backdated era routes for TS Classic, personally. But yeah, it's not too bad in that respect, but route-wise, detail-wise, it is very meh. There is a lot of stuff that is very bland. There's not really much distant scenery. A majority of it is line side, which, okay, is fair enough because, you know, a majority of the time with MSTS you're in the cab, and also you couldn't usually fly around in MSTS. That's like an OpenRails feature. But having said that, it would be nice to have some better distant scenery, because I have seen better distant scenery on other routes compared to this one. So yeah, a little bit disappointed with that activity. Clearly it's broken and doesn't work with OpenRails, and yeah, that's just a bit unfortunate for us. But I'm sure that we'll get to doing another video on this add-on, or even another add-on in the future. Let me know in the comments, guys, if there is any particular add-on that you want me to look at. At the moment, I've got lined up Great Eastern, which is basically London to Ipswich in the NSE era. Great Eastern 2, which is a rarity which I picked up quite recently, and that is the Anglia era of Great Eastern, which involves London Liverpool Street to Norwich. And I've got other add-ons such as the Kent and East Sussex Railway, the Nene Valley Railway, Severn Valley Railway, and West Somerset Railway. So if there's any in there particular that you fancy me doing a video on, or you'd like to see, please let me know in the comments, and I'll get back to you and see if I can do it. So yeah, so thank you very much, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's been Samuel Beeman of BLS, and I'll see you all soon. Goodbye for now.